Welcome to the ManageEngine NetFlow Analyzer webinar on securing and monitoring BYOD networks using NetFlow. So today's webinar will discuss about the impact of BYOD on the network and why you should use NetFlow for security and traffic analytics in BYOD environments. During today's session, your phone lines would remain muted, and you can type in your questions using the option available in the GoToWebinar window, and our expert panel will respond. We'll also have a question and answer session at the end of it. So once again, welcome to the webinar on securing and monitoring BYOD networks using NetFlow. And before we start, a brief on ManageEngine. So ManageEngine offers simple, easy-to-use IT management products at a price that every business type can afford. ManageEngine products can technically cater to both the SMB market as well as a large business. We have products for anything ranging from network and application management to asset management, help desk, ITL. There are also products for Active Directory, syslog analysis, vulnerability assessment, password management, almost anything that an organization would need for its IT management. All right, so back to the webinar. The agenda for today's webinar is goes like this: what is BYOD, and we'll also discuss how much the BYOD has reached, and we'll then talk about what are the concerns when you implement or bring in BYOD into your network, and then the limitations of current BYOD solutions. After which we'll go into NetFlow. NetFlow, the technology you can use for monitoring or securing BYOD networks, and then why NetFlow for BYOD networks. After which we'll have the question and answer session. All right, so what is BYOD? The BYOD movement was started some time back in 2008 by Dilbert when he tried to smuggle in his home laptop to increase productivity. Well, that's what at least the cartoon said, but no, that's you all know that is not what BYOD is all about. BYOD is the practice of allowing employees to bring in their laptops or their own computing devices like smartphones and laptops or even PDS to the workplace and use it for connectivity and work on the corporate network. So what else does it involve? Cost savings. Why did BYOD come into the picture? One is, or the most important is cost savings. The device and hardware cost is transferred to the employee. So they say that organizations save around $80 to $100 per employee when with BYOD implementation. And then there is the option of the freeing up your IT team. So what happens is with BYOD, the ownership of the device falls on the employee. So devices are handled much better. They are more careful about their devices, because I know people who actually handle their boxing gloves much better than they do with the company provided tablets or phones. So what your IT team gets is the device is handled better. There's no maintenance cost on the device. They get more time to spend on relevant work rather than fixing up end user issues or troubleshooting end user devices. And you have the satisfaction, employee satisfaction, where when they get the flexibility to work when and where as they need it on the device of their own choice. Well, that definitely turns out into an employee satisfaction, which finally leads to increased productivity. Because with BYOD, most of your users are telecommuting or working on flexible time periods. So on the way back from work or back to home, they check out a couple of mails and do some small works which they can finish off while they're commuting. So something like that, and finally what you get is increased productivity. So what has been the BYOD reach over these years? So what we found is these are some of the survey results or study results from different research companies or analyst companies. An Aberdeen study in July 2011 found that 75% of the organizations are actually permitting BYOD for business purposes. And Gartner's study says that by 2014, 90% of the organization will actually support corporate applications on personal devices. My organization itself is an example for that. And Cisco, they're the world leaders in network equipment, and Cisco is actually adopting any service, any device, anywhere architecture, which will actually involve to a virtual enterprise, and enterprise which is actually location and service independent. So next up is the poll. So we'll just have the poll up in a minute. So the question is, what is your organization's decision regarding BYOD implementation? So should be able to see the poll on your screen now. What is your organization decision regarding BYOD implementation? You have 4 options. You can choose the one that best suits you. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes so everybody, you can see it on your screen now. We'll wait for a few more seconds and so that everybody can vote. I think my prediction would be that I guess most of the organizations would have permitted at least smartphones or and tablets on your BYOD for smartphones and tablets in your network, and maybe laptops up to a certain percentage. So I believe the highest number would be with BYOD for smartphones and tablets. So we're going to close the poll in another 5 seconds, and let's just give it time for some of the people who are still voting. And meanwhile, we apologize for this inconvenience with the audio that happened in between. We had some serious glitches. I'm not sure what happened exactly. Yet surprising for a network monitoring software company like ours. All right, so we're closing the poll. You should see the results. Yep. Okay. The results should be up on your screen now. All right, so that's great. Everybody almost, so combined, if you look at it, almost 60% of the organizations have actually permitted BYOD, and another 24% is planning to implement BYOD. So that's a very good number. So this is really important. This webinar should be really important for you who are planning to implement it, or even those who are have currently implemented BYOD, because you get to know how you can leverage on NetFlow, a free technology, NetFlow or SFlow or whatever it is, because NetFlow is the most famous name among all these flow technologies, and that's why I keep referring to it as NetFlow. But what I actually mean is NetFlow or SFlow, IPFix, all those variations of flow from formats out there in the market. So how you can use NetFlow technology to actually monitor your device, secure your network. So that is what this webinar will talk about. All right. So back to the webinar, and so what are the reasons for concern when you implement BYOD on your network? So the most basic factor is it's a nascent mobile device management solution you have out there. So there are no established MDM policies. MDM is mobile device management. So there are no established MDM policies or monitoring solutions. And something else is there's no multi-platform support. You have devices, some running Android or iOS or even Symbian or BlackBerry. So there's no MDM solution with a multi-platform support, or most of those MDM solutions, even if they do, they don't support IPv6 or some of the other new technologies. And then something else, the other area where the shortfall is, it might not be user-friendly. The reason is it's just coming. The MDM market is just started, it's just evolving, so you don't know, even the designers don't know how it should be or how everything should look like, or how user-friendly it is. So it might take some time. So that's one reason for concern. And the second thing is you have different devices, like I said, BlackBerry or iOS or Android, the Apple operating system. So you have different devices, different operating systems, so patch management and compliance issues comes into the picture. You know, all of these devices may not be up to date with the patches, and could be vulnerable. There could be vulnerabilities, problems, issues. So many things could happen with when you have different devices and different OSs. And another factor is the lack of visibility into where the device is on the network or what is it accessing. So you allow people or your users to bring in their mobile devices and tablets into the office, into the enterprise network. But what is it doing? Where exactly is it on the network? What is it accessing? Is it connecting to some server which holds your critical information, or maybe your CRM data is being accessed by somebody who actually shouldn't be looking at it, something like that. So you don't have any visibility into what all these devices are doing in your network. All right, and something else is these application growth which we have seen. So you have a lot of applications, but yeah, most of them are from trusted vendors, but then you also have unverified and untrusted applications. What comes with it is security problems, malwares, and even bandwidth problems comes when you have an application growth. And finally, something else that you need to worry about is the network perimeter is dissolving. So when the network perimeter is dissolving, it means you have users connecting from the outside, from over the VPN, remote connections, or some other softwares which can actually help them to hook up to their work laptop. So you have more remote connections where, again, security concerns comes into the picture, where we'll see in detail about that right now. So first and foremost is the personal work at work when you use the BYOD device. So when people are provided with BYOD, or when they're allowed to use their own mobile devices for at office, there is this tendency for people to use it for their personal purposes, maybe catch up with a few YouTube videos or social media sites, instant messaging, or games, or even Skype or something like that. So what you're seeing is bandwidth being used for unwanted applications. So, and if you look at YouTube now, you'll find a lot of options to upload high-definition videos, and there are a huge number of high-definition videos as well. And one of Cisco's predictions for 2012 was that there would be an exponential increase in high-definition video, and that is why Cisco has parallelly came up with something called as MediaNet monitoring, MediaNet and MediaTrace for specifically for video monitoring purposes. So anyway, we are seeing an increase in high-definition video, social media traffic, and other personal purposes when you allow BYOD. Even the last case of live streaming of March Madness, that is a popular NCAA men's college basketball tournament, that was actually available on Android devices, live streaming on Android devices. Now, I remember that some of the initial matches were actually on weekdays, that is working hours, where you can guess what would have happened. You would have a lot of people tuning into those devices for live updates, scores, or even stream. They would have tuned into the live streaming itself to see the matches when they are at work. So what finally takes a hit is non-business related traffic volume increases. Your business critical application performance is affected. It's a WAN link that is being utilized, and maybe you have your data center elsewhere where all your employees connect to the CRM or some of the other data that's important. So your WAN link is utilized, and there's a bottleneck, there's a spike, and your bandwidth, you face bandwidth issues and poor business application performance. Something else with BYOD is data loss. I would say that's the most important factor actually. So biggest threat is when the mobile device actually leaves the enterprise network. What happens is, when it was in the enterprise network, it would have accessed business data, or internal emails are being stored on the device. Now what happens? What would happen when the device is lost? So that is like having your sensitive information, critical information being left out in the open. So a device, now if it falls into the wrong hands, or a stolen device can actually be used to connect to your network remotely for data theft, or even attacks on your network, spread out malwares, DOS attacks, something like that could happen, because the user, he gets the information about where he has to connect to, how he has to connect to, what are the servers, or he gets some information about your internal emails and stuff like this. So that's a very dangerous thing, or that's the most worst thing that can happen with BYOD when you lose the device. So there comes a major security issue with BYOD, that is device loss. Now something else is unverified and I would say greedy applications. So Mobile device growth has actually led to an application explosion. Like I said, I read somewhere that there are around 200,000 applications in Android, and again, some similar numbers or huge numbers for the Apple devices. So you have new and unverified applications being added every day, and they are being downloaded and installed. So what comes with it is unverified applications or untrusted applications. You don't know the vendor, who the vendor is, and people are they are ready to try out new things, or they just want to find an interesting application which promises to do something else. I mean, maybe free calls or something like that, and they would ready to try that. Or maybe it's a new game, interesting game, they'll be ready to try that. So what comes is security threats and malwares. They could easily reach into your network through these sort of untrusted or unverified applications. And something else is what I said earlier, greedy apps. So what are greedy apps? I call them unoptimized or bandwidth hogging applications. They're not bothered about what are the other applications running in your network. They just use up the bandwidth. It's something like, I would say, maybe one application that comes to my mind is maybe we had torrents, all right? So with torrents, what happens is, as long as you had people to share, torrents used up bandwidth in like anything. I would call them that was a real bandwidth hogger. Now something like that, the mobile version of a torrent, that can come soon because mobile market is here. I mean, we didn't imagine mobile market to happen, and it happened now. BYOD is here. There are lots of applications. So the next thing obviously would be applications which you had in your laptop. The mobile versions of all those applications would definitely come in. So torrents is an example of a bandwidth hogging application. So what again happens is you put a strain on your bandwidth, you put a strain on your WAN bandwidth, and again, business application is affected. So you have bandwidth bottlenecks, people will not be able to access the internet, or people will not be able to access the data center or some remote branches or server farm. And then there is much more than that. There is a security issue that comes from using untrusted application, which could have been a malware. And there is more to security actually. So BYOD users actually, they browse from unsecured Wi-Fi networks when they leave your office, or visit untrusted sites, or download from untrusted vendors. In computer security, they say that the dancing pigs over security. That is a term very famous in computer security. What it means is, given a choice between dancing pigs and security, users would actually pick up the dancing pigs every time. So this is a statement on user attitudes to computer security, that users primarily desire features without considering security, and so security must be designed without the computer having to ask a technically ignorant user. So a user should not be given the option of choosing between his fancy screensaver or security. So because the user would obviously opt for the screensaver. Now that comes generically with security. Now what happens for you, for the network administrator or with the mobile application? What happens is user obviously chooses the fancy screensaver, which can be a malware, or it can be a virus attack on your network. So users can be careless, and then again, when the devices are outside your network, it's in a Wi-Fi network, in a public Wi-Fi network, and he could get hacked, because once it leaves your network, there are none of the security options which you had added, maybe firewalls, proxy servers, content filtering. None of these are actually available once a user leaves your network. So it's easy to attack and infect a device which is outside your network perimeter. So that is where we see a huge number of malwares targeting mobile and software platforms like iOS and Android out here. So infected devices, what happens is users get infected, they get hacked, they carry the device physically straight into the network. You're not going to check for malwares in a tablet or a phone or a smartphone which is being physically carried into the network. Now he connects to the LAN, and your infected devices in the LAN, malware enters the LAN. So that's like, you're inviting network threats into your using BYOD, or when we permit BYOD. Now, the answer to this is not prevent BYOD completely or not to get rid of BYOD. There are solutions for it. So we'll look at how NetFlow can help you in a few minutes. So what are the limitations of current BYOD solutions? Some of the solutions which I've heard about, some of the articles which I read about BYOD, most of them talked about putting a more stricter control on your mobile devices and maybe limiting the web traffic that mobile MDM access through your organization's Wi-Fi networks. The problem with this is it's like as good as having a company-issued device. You can as well give them the device, and the advantage of BYOD is lost, because earlier the employee satisfaction came with using a device of his choice, working on his own platforms or applications, and stuff like that, or working as and when he needed. Now that advantage is lost. So the whole advantage of BYOD itself is lost when you put more control on the devices. And not only that, users don't prefer it when you actually try to control a device with they persist. Now something else is blocking or limiting the web traffic that these mobile devices can access, which is most usually the Wi-Fi network. That's actually also vague, or it's not a very sharp solution. It's a very impractical solution, because genuine users are affected, and you also have problems like maybe it's actually being used for something else. The wireless network is being used for something for testing, or some genuine users are connected to it, and you blocking the whole Wi-Fi network doesn't make any sense. And one of the other solutions they talk about is up-to-date patch management. If you put in up-to-date patch management, you can actually prevent the devices from getting malwares or getting hacked, stuff like this. But there is no multi-platform MDM, or MDM is mobile device management. So there's no multi-platform MDM or patch management solution that is available right now for the very diverse mobile ecosystem. So that's a big limitation. And second is, some of the other people talk about installing antivirus software on your mobile devices. Now, first thing is, I don't prefer to have antivirus software on my device. And second thing is, all these new age malwares, they actually leverage or exploit zero-day vulnerabilities. That is, those which have not yet been discovered. So your antivirus software is definitely going to be help us against the malware which exploits zero-day vulnerabilities. So it's as good as not having a software there. And another is the traditional using the multi-layered security feature, internal and internal IDS systems. So traditional layered security solutions, like you have the router, access control list on the router, then the firewall, then the proxy server, content filtering. All these will definitely fall short against new age threats, the ones that comes with mobile devices or BYOD, because they, like I said earlier, they all leverage or exploit zero-day vulnerabilities. They don't have a specific pattern which an IDS can detect and stop. So our IPS system will not work against them. And then again, remember the case where we said the users, infected devices, can be carried into the LAN network, straight into the LAN network by the user. So you can't just put in IDS and IPS within your LAN, because it's IDS and IPS itself is an expensive solution. So putting multiple IDS and IPS systems at all the access layer switches is going to be very expensive. So next in the picture is how NetFlow can help you. I mean, you have limitations with the current solutions, and I'll talk now about how NetFlow can actually help you with your mobile device management. So first of all, what is NetFlow? NetFlow is a technology developed by Cisco that was initially designed as a switching path, and it's now become the primary IP traffic accounting technology. So NetFlow gives you information about the who, what, when, and where of IP traffic, and every major vendor. I'll say over the years this has increased. Initially we just had NetFlow from Cisco, Adtran, and 3Com, and then there was also S-Flow. A few of the vendors supported, and J-Flow from Juniper. But now if you look at it, almost every enterprise device vendor in the market supports some flow format or the other. NetFlow, S-Flow, J-Flow, IPFix, anything, one or the other will support. And then, like I said at the beginning of the webinar, even though I keep referring to it as NetFlow, what I actually mean is NetFlow or S-Flow, all these solutions which can actually export flow export solutions which can actually carry information about your IP traffic. So how does NetFlow, what is NetFlow, how does it work? So NetFlow actually consists of 7 unique fields. That is what defines flow. as well as Cisco NetFlow is concerned. So you have source interface, the protocol, source IP address, destination IP address, the port, and that's the source port as well as the destination port, and the type of service. So these 7 key fields actually define a flow. So how it works is your traffic passes through your routing and switching device interfaces, and a flow is created. Those 7 fields which we talked about. So based on the 7 key fields as well as the additional non-key fields, a flow is created and stored in the NetFlow cache, which is actually within the router. Now, the flows are grouped and exported in UDP formats to a collector based on the active and inactive timeouts, flow timeouts, which you specify. When you configure NetFlow or SFlow on your device, you actually have to specify how frequently the packets have to be exported. And with NetFlow, the lowest is actually 1 minute for active flows. So, which means every 1 minute you're getting an update about the active conversations that are happening on your router. So, flows are grouped and exported as UDP packets to your flow collector, whatever is based on your configuration. And the flow collector, when you receives the UDP packets, processes it and gives you information immediately about who is the source, who is the destination, what port were used, what was the application, all this detailed information. And something like ManageEngine, NetFlow Analyzer, it can actually give you reports in 3 minutes as soon as you install it and have the flows configured. So each NetFlow packet is somewhere around 1500 bytes, and when you send a flow, each flow can contain actually around 20 to 50 records, about 50 conversations records. So more on NetFlow, what sort of information does NetFlow gives us? So NetFlow can tell us about the source of who and what of traffic, source IP address, destination IP address, and then source port and destination port along with the protocol, which actually gives us the application name. A combination of port and protocol is what makes up the application. So who and what is using up the bandwidth, and when did this happen? What time did the flow start, and what was the end time of the conversation? What was the what was the volume? And then again the QoS information like type of service, TCP flag, and finally you have the path. Which interface did the information come on through which interface is it exiting the router? What is the next hop, or the source autonomous system, the destination AS information? All this comes with NetFlow. So why exactly do we need NetFlow? Why do we recommend NetFlow for the BYOD networks or the mobile device supported networks? So one, obviously, is it comes for free. It's there in all your devices. Well, that's not the reason. That's not the main reason, definitely. I will go into that. So in-depth tracking is what you need when you have mobile devices in your network. So NetFlow, like I said earlier, it provides real-time information about network traffic, like what was the source and destination, port and protocol, what were the conversations, and all this is updated in real time based on the active and inactive timeout. So you get real time information on what is happening in the network, and then most importantly, BYOD monitoring begins at the access layer, closer to the traffic source or closer to where your mobile devices are in your network. So reason here why NetFlow is important is if you look at this, Freecom, Brocade, or almost all the layer 3 access layer switches as well as the core switches support NetFlow export. So flow export is supported by almost all enterprise level devices. So, and that without any impact on the network as well as the device. There's no impact on the network due to bandwidth, or there's nothing on the device also due to memory, higher memory or stuff like that. So what happens is when you track closer to the source, you know what exactly is happening. You know what the device is doing within your LAN. Maybe is it connecting to some other server within the LAN. Maybe is it sending out too many traffic, or maybe malware is spreading within the LAN because of the mobile device bringing in some malwares or getting hacked when it was outside. And so you get to track the impact of BYOD. Once you have started implementing BYOD, once you have allowed BYOD on your network, you can track the impact of BYOD on your bandwidth. Who are the top talkers for each interface, or even you can classify it based on the IP subnet. That's the level of information NetFlow data actually gives you. So something like this, you get to see the bandwidth growth over time period, what has happened, how much has the bandwidth grown. So you know that, all right, take a report before BYOD was implemented, before mobile devices was allowed in your network. Take a report after this was allowed. See how much of the bandwidth has grown. And if you find that, all right, this is not going in the right direction, then you can think of implementing QoS policies or doing some limitations, putting some limits on the bandwidth or Wi-Fi networks, stuff like that. And you have data to show why you took that action. And then the other factor is information about the sources. Who are the top talkers in your network? So you know that, all right, this computer, this user is sending so much of traffic out to the network, and you get to see the destination. Because it's not enough that you see, all right, who are the top talkers, or who is the top source of traffic, or what is the impact of BYOD. You also need to know where is all this traffic heading to, what application is being used, and like I said before, you need to know if he's accessing sensitive information or maybe servers where he should not be actually connecting to. So you need to see the destination of the traffic. So find out what is the exact impact from BYOD on your network. So in-depth tracking is needed for BYOD, and that is where NetFlow comes into the picture, because the other solutions for monitoring or keeping a track of bandwidth is SNMP based or packet capture. Now, SNMP solutions, they're very vague. They just tell you, all right, this is the in traffic, this is the out traffic, TX and RX rates on each interface. But it doesn't tell you what happened, who was using it, who's using all that bandwidth, or where was all the bandwidth heading to, where was all the traffic heading to. You have so much of packets, so much of bytes, but you don't know where this is all going. That's the limitation of SNMP. Something else is packet analysis or packet capture. The problem with packet capture is, one is huge amount of data is involved. You need to do spanning, port mirroring, send all these packets to a server where you have a packet analysis tool, or send it to an appliance which does the packet analysis, and then get the reports. You need huge storage volume to store all those packets there. And the ones that can give you immediate results or quick results for the packet analysis are expensive. So whatever money you might have saved with BYOD, whatever capex you might have saved with BYOD, it's all put into packet analysis solutions within your LAN. So that doesn't make sense. So that is where NetFlow comes into the picture. NetFlow is more like in between SNMP and packet capture. It's much more deeper than SNMP. It gives you a lot of information about the bandwidth used, as well as the host or IP addresses involved, as well as tells you what was the destination and stuff like this, or what application was used. But it's not as detailed as packet analysis. But when you find a problem with NetFlow, when you drill down to a problem using NetFlow, then maybe you can bring up your PCAP tool, capture the packets, and analyze what is happening. So that is what I would recommend, using NetFlow for in-depth tracking, because it doesn't put a strain on your network. You don't have to worry about storage space. You don't have to worry about the CPU utilization or the memory on the device shooting up, or the bandwidth getting affected. And the vanishing network perimeter. I had talked about this sometime in my last webinar about the network perimeter was disappearing, because of which you would have security issues coming up. So the same thing is still, it has actually increased with the BYOD trend. What happens is you have more number of remote connections, telecommuting, people working from home, connecting from home. So more remote connections with BYOD. You don't know where your network perimeter is. And stolen devices or malware infected devices can still be used to connect to the enterprise network over VPN, or so whatever technology you are using in your network or in your enterprise for remote connections. So what happens is, as you can see here, you don't know, you have networks or you have devices connecting over VPN, mobile phones over 3G, and laptops from public Wi-Fi spots. They all connect to your network using different technologies, and all this traffic reaches your LAN. So how do you put a control on them? You can't simply use access control list, because ACL is not going to block your trusted devices or devices that are a part of your network. So what again you need is something like a flow analysis solution. The reason is flow export is supported by almost all firewalls and all routers. All the firewalls, SonicWall, Cisco, any vendor in the market, they actually support flow export, mostly NetFlow, and a large number of them SFlow export. So use NetFlow data to see which device is connecting over tunnels or where is the destination of the traffic. You can actually see from NetFlow information actually can give you information about the ESP traffic or the GRE tunnels that have been established. You can see the source as well as the destination. That's something else that is NetFlow's advantage. You get to see what is happening at the, if you capture traffic from the edge of your tunnel, you can actually get to see what is the original source IP address as well as the destination IP address because NetFlow packet is captured before the encryption takes place. So you get to see who is the real center of the traffic, and you get to find out where is the traffic actually heading. So that is where NetFlow comes into the picture for monitoring networks where the perimeter has actually disappeared, where BYOD is into the picture. So then the next thing is malwares. You have new age malwares. Now BYOD growth, that meant increase in malwares targeting mobile devices. This is a report from McAfee 2011 saw an increase in malwares targeted at mobile devices, especially Android, because that was the flip side of Android's growth. You had a lot of people, a lot of mobile companies adopting Android, but the flip side was you had a lot of malwares too. But what happens is with that came, with the BYOD growth came malwares, and so infected devices are actually sometimes physically carried into the network from elsewhere. So he could be outside, he clicks on an unrequested application, downloads it, installs it, and then one fine day he finds that it was actually malware. He carries it into the network next to the LAN and then goes to the network administrator and tells, all right, I got some malware on my network or on my device. Well, it's too late. It's already spread. All right, so that is where you need NetFlow. You can't just go ahead and install your IDS and IPS and internal solutions, the intrusion detection systems in your internal network, because it's quite expensive to have the IDS system on each of your access layers, which is collecting data and seeing what is happening, because your devices could be accessing just another server which is within your LAN, and as soon as the malware spreads, what do you do? So network traffic or network behavior analysis, traffic behavior analysis is what that can help you with anomaly detection. And one more factor, or one more reason why IDS or firewalls don't work is all these leverage on, like we talked before, zero-day vulnerabilities, zero-day malwares is what I call them. So they are not easily detected by IDS or IPS systems. Or you should be having the most expensive ones, one of the best ones outside in the market for them to discover all these, capture all these new age malwares. Or you need to have IDS and IPS systems within your LAN network to capture whatever was carried physically into your network. So new age malware. So NetFlow packets hold very granular information on IP traffic behavior. They tell you the source and destination, all these things. But additional to that, there is more information like TCP flags. What is the header bytes, TCP volume in the packets, and any solution that is designed to read this information can actually do network analysis or behavior analysis and give you information. So ManageEngine NetFlow Analyzer, we have something called the Advanced Security Analytics module. So FM leverages on the exported NetFlow or SFlow data for behavior anomaly detection. So real-time threat detection using continuous stream mining engine, that's a registered technology from ManageEngine. So using the continuous stream mining engine, we can do real-time threat detection, unlike most of the other vendors in the market who actually wait for the flows to be collected and stored into the database and then analyze it for threat detection or threat analysis. But what NetFlow Analyzer can do, or what FM can do, is real-time threat detection, which is very important because you should know what exactly is happening when the malware starts to spread. You just don't want to wait till it's all spread, all the computers are infected, and then what is the use in knowing, okay, all right, something like this has happened, or something like this happened yesterday. So that information is not important, because today's age, uptime is the most important factor for enterprise networks. So uptime, you need to keep out malware. You need to stay alert. You need to know when there is an attack going on. So that is why real-time threat detection is important. So what FM can do is it captures the threats that surpasses your IDS systems or other traditional security systems like firewalls or proxy servers, and Then the anomaly is captured and classified based on offender, target, path, and problem. And then the reports are displayed by SM, where in detail you can see what if there is a suspect flow. Maybe the flow is suspect because it has an invalid source IP address or invalid destination IP address, or it could be a DOS attack, or many of these factors which normally will not be captured by any intrusion detection system. So if you can see on the screen, the screenshot on the screen, the screenshot shows what are some of these. These are just some of the few categories that NetFlow is being displayed. There are a lot more what the product can actually do. So it says even if there is a TCP SYN violation or invalid type of service field in the flows, that can all be some behavior anomaly. Maybe it could be a false positive, but then you could still, it's better to be on the safer side. You get to know, okay, what is the problem within your network? What are the behavior anomalies happening within your network? So from this, you get to know what issues are happening, what are the malwares that are happening, which are actually brought in by BYOD devices. So you are on the safer side when you use a continuous threat evaluation process. So you get information about any scans or probes, whatever malware is there, whatever anomaly is there in your network. And second factor is SAM lets you further drill down and see who are the unique source IP addresses involved, what was the destination of the traffic, and which destination network, what port numbers were used. So information is available from SAM which lets you take immediate action and stop the spread of malware. Stop if you're under an attack, you can immediately stop the attack using the information from the SAM engine. So these are some of the reasons why NetFlow is important for securing and monitoring networks where BYOD is allowed or implemented. And we saw why security and bandwidth is the most important factor with BYOD. Yeah, there are other factors, like you need to make sure there are policies for using BYOD. I mean, mobile devices in your network, no games or something like that, maybe less social media. But then people don't always listen to rules. They don't always follow the rules. So you definitely have to have a detailed monitoring solution. And we also saw what is the limitation with your current monitoring solutions. They are not, there's no multi-platform solution which can handle Apple or Android, BlackBerry, Symbian, Nokia. So all these, there's no multi-platform solution which can help you with this. And most of these, I mean, okay, some guys say, all right, I support Apple as well as IPv6, but what happened to Android? Or maybe mobile applications. They don't specifically give you the list of applications that is being used. They just tell you, all right, Android, it's using so much of bandwidth, or BlackBerry is there in your network, it's using so much of, sending out so much of traffic, but no other information. And then again, if it's IPv6, maybe they don't show it at all, because they just cannot collect IPv6 information. So, and something else is the solutions. Current MDM solutions have just evolved. They're still evolving. They've just been designed. So it's not entirely based on a user's experience. The current design has come out. It's entirely based on what the designer feels is the best for them. So before you invest in high-cost MDM solutions, before you invest a lot of money in purchasing new solutions, wait and see what is happening. Wait and see what try to utilize on solutions that you already have in your network. Something like NetFlow. NetFlow is a technology that you already have in your network, on your switches and routers. So you can actually use NetFlow to say for securing the network, monitoring what's happening, and find out what is the BYOD doing in your network. If it's creating security issues, you can actually track it down with NetFlow data. And if there is possible malwares or virus attacks happening in your network, because BYOD has brought in some of them, you can again track it with NetFlow. So that is why monitoring and securing, that's the most important aspect in BYOD. But much more than all that, what I would say is you need to educate your users why security is more important than that fancy screensaver which he was trying to download, or why bandwidth is important for the organization. Because bandwidth takes a hit, he can't access the CRM, and work is pending, he has to stay back late. So maybe that's the kind of approach. Educate the users and analyze the MDM solution which you're actually planning to purchase. And if you have not yet purchased an MDM solution, use technologies like NetFlow. Find out what was the bandwidth change. How has BYOD impacted your network? What is the impact of BYOD on your network? Or is there any problem with traffic? Is there any issues with the bandwidth? All these things you can find out with NetFlow data, and then move on to MDM solution, which has actually fully evolved over time period. So that brings us to the end of the webinar, and we are ready to take in any questions. If you have any questions, just type them in, and we have an expert panel here from the tech team of NetFlow Analyzer, consisting of Alec and Tim. So they should be able to respond to your questions. Right, so you can type in your questions, and we'll take up a couple of questions for our discussions. So any questions on NetFlow Analyzer? We are receiving. All right, questions have started coming in. So before we start, we'll just wait for a few more seconds so that some more users can send their questions in. So some of the questions is like, is only internet traffic, or can we track LAN to LAN or LAN to WAN traffic? Definitely, you can use NetFlow or your LAN to WAN traffic as well as LAN to LAN traffic, because like I said earlier, your access layer switches, your core switches like Cisco 6500, all these support actually NetFlow export. So you can actually use it to track LAN to LAN traffic, and it doesn't put a strain on your network bandwidth. It doesn't put a strain on your device performance, because of it utilizes very less CPU. As far as I know, somewhere around 10,000 flows or 20,000 flows can be exported every second, and the increase in CPU is just 5 to 7%. Now 10,000 flows to 20,000 flows is huge. That's usually big ISPs who actually have that kind of flow. So yeah, you can use NetFlow for tracking LAN to LAN traffic and even LAN to WAN traffic. And I guess that question would also answer another question we had, whether if it's possible to use NetFlow on a layer 3 switch. Yes, layer 3 switches like Cisco 6500 or most of the I mean, not many of Cisco's Catalyst switches support NetFlow by default, but 6500, 4000 CDs, 4500 CDs, all these supported NetFlow export. And from the other vendors, Post10, Brocade, or Foundry, all these devices actually support flow export. And another question is, yeah, that was something related to S-Flow. What happens is, not very related to BYOD, but yet I'll still be happy to take it up. So S-Flow devices actually, many S-Flow devices actually export only ingress traffic information. Egress traffic information is not available in flows. So that is actually a limitation from the vendor. It's not even a limitation of S-Flow. S-Flow actually has capabilities to show the out traffic information, but the vendors, most of the vendors, are a large number of vendors, including Dell, has not implemented the option to show the exit interface. So because of which you actually end up seeing 0 as the out traffic. So S-Flow, some of the vendors like HP, they all support egress traffic accounting, but not some of the newer vendors like Dell or somebody like that. Yeah, we have raised this issue with S-Flow team a couple of times, as well as with the vendors. But yeah, the S-Flow team says the vendor has to resolve it, because S-Flow template already supports egress accounting. And Now, yeah, another question which we received is where in large enterprises where network devices that do not support or export flow data. Now, yeah, that happens very frequently. I've seen that a number of times. Now, something else, this was not there previously, but something which I've seen over time is that there is something called as NTOP, and they have an agent which you can install for your desktop or laptop. So what you need to do is you'll have to bring in port mirroring here, and once you mirror the port to that desktop or to your server where the flow agent is installed, that flow agent can capture the raw traffic and convert it into NetFlow packets and send it to a flow generator. And there's something else which Cisco has actually come up with recently. That was at Cisco Live 2012. Cisco actually demonstrated their NetFlow generation appliance called the NGA. So NGA, what you have to do is just connect it to somewhere within your network, fix it in your network, and what it does is capture the packets and generate flows, generate NetFlow data, which can then be sent to a collector, like ManageEngine NetFlow Analyzer. Cisco actually demonstrated it using LAMCO, but then if NetFlow Analyzer can also support the flows exported by NGA. So you need to put in an NGA into your network, the NetFlow generator appliance in your network from Cisco, and you would be able to export the NetFlow packets. NetFlow Analyzer would capture it and generate information. So that's the only workaround for devices when you have devices that do not support flow export. And we have another question is, we had a couple of questions like on the how the interface or how the ManageEngine NetFlow Analyzer's licensing model is. So yep, that is based on the interface you actually need to monitor. I mean, you would have a switch which has maybe 50 interfaces, but you would be interested in monitoring maybe just 10 interfaces. Yes. So at that point, the licensing is based on the interfaces you need to monitor, and not simply based on the total number of interfaces on your switch. So I hope that answers the question on the licensing part. And there are, right now, the manufacturers of SNMP and tablet devices or mobile phone, that is actually not yet been, the manufacturers have not yet implemented anything widely where you can use an SNMP-based solution to query the device and see what is happening or what it is doing on your network. That is why right now MDM is still at a very nascent stage. It's taking baby steps towards a complete solution. And so we'll have to wait for, I guess maybe by the end of next year, you would have a completely evolved MDM solution, because Cisco has already started coming up with a solution for network monitoring or mobile device management, which should be very useful. It integrates with their Cisco Prime, and you can use that to track your BYOD devices within your network. We have a lot of questions in, and something else is, does OpManager NetFlow Analyzer comes with the traffic analysis or the security analysis solution? Yes, first of all, those who are not aware of OpManager, NetFlow Analyzer is a product under ManageEngine which is for traffic analysis or bandwidth monitoring, and there is something called as OpManager for complete network monitoring. It's based on SNMP and can give you information about the health of devices, how the link, whether the link is up or down, traffic statistics, packet drop, all these details in complete network management and monitoring. So NetFlow Analyzer can actually integrate with OpManager. It can act as an add-on. So you have an add-on for OpManager which can be installed on top of OpManager, the NetFlow solution, as an add-on, and yes, that also supports its security traffic analysis feature. And if we have more questions coming in, those have still more questions, you can keep throwing them in, and we would actually send out those questions which we are unable to take it today, we'll actually send you personalized answers to your email address. So you can still keep posting us questions. And we have a number of questions. A number of people have asked us is the slides, whether the presentation used today will that be available? Yes, the recording as well as the presentation used would actually be available. They would be sent to you within a couple of days by email. You can download the presentation and you can catch the recording of the webinar, and we will host it online and we'll send you the link as well. So, I guess we are getting a lot of questions, so we'll take these questions offline and answer them and send you a personalized reply within a couple of days from our tech team. And anybody who is interested to have a personalized demo of NetFlow Analyzer would like to see how NetFlow Analyzer can be used to monitor your network or monitor your mobile devices, just drop us an email to the email address you see there at the NetFlow tech team. That's netflowanalyzer-support@ManageEngine.com. We'll have a personalized demo set up for you, or online demo set up for you, so we can explain how you can use NetFlow to monitor your network. Not simply about NetFlow Analyzer, but the whole thing about NetFlow technology itself. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining ManageEngine webinar. We'll keep you posted about our next webinar soon. Thank you very much, and have a great day.